Do you actually have to be on cocaine to be on this podcast?
Yes, sir.
Cocaine. Cocaine, really. Cocaine, really.
All right, everybody. Oh, man, this is going to be an exciting one today. Welcome to another episode of Cocaine Willie. You can see here we got two boys on tonight. Got Fireball Matt, who's going to be leading this puppy with hopefully all four wheels on the track. Alongside, we got my boy, Chef Andre Napier, as always. Great to
I'm
see
just
you.
trying to be on the track. I'm just trying to be on the track. That's all I want to be on.
One of us had, you know what? Somebody's got to be at this point, and especially with no Bob Trollsby tonight, we're going to be kind of off the cuff, shooting the shit, as they say, and we're going to be talking about K-State basketball, which actually meets that theme. But first, let's make sure to always go ahead and give a shout out to our sponsors, and let's go ahead and start with Annie Mae's Parlor. Everyone loves Annie Mae's. I don't have a beer today, unfortunately, in this hotel room in Wichita, but this pretend beer crack is brought to you by Annie Mae's Parlor, located at 616 North 12th Street in the heart of Aggieville in Manhattan, Kansas. Annie Mae's has been around since 1974, 52 years. 52 years. And it's the top destination in Aggieville on game days and school nights alike. Thinking about this week and what's going on at Annie Mae's. Big night tonight, Therapy. Someday I will make it to Therapy for pie and cocktails, but that is tonight at Annie Mae's. Of course, on Wednesday nights, we have Trivia Smackdown over there. On Thursday, Win a Gig Part 2. Win a Gig is back with two bands having a chance at winning a spot in the lineup at this year's Frog Wizard Festival in downtown MHK. And on Friday, we got Pride in the Parlor, Angels and Demons, who is performing on Friday night. Big night and big events over at Annie Mae's. But always, if you're in the Little Apple for a game or whatever you're doing in town, always make a point to go over to Annie Mae's Parlor. Check out their website at www.anniemays.com if you want to see that list of upcoming events. But again, go visit your auntie or auntie. Do you say auntie or auntie? Oh, that was...
It's definitely my aunt. I don't, if you're
Aunt,
saying
yeah.
with an IE at the end of it, I guess you have to say
Auntie?
it doesn't sound right saying auntie.
I know. I don't know why I said it like
I guess
that.
I don't ever say the word auntie. That's just my
that's
just my
man.
aunt. It's my
yeah.
aunt.
Okay, fair enough. Well,
I'm an
anyway,
aunt guy.
you're an aunt guy. They're at 616 North 12th Street in the heart of Aggieville, and be sure to tell them that Cocaine Willie sent you. Well, it's February 24th, and the basketball season has basically been done for the past 6 to 7 weeks. But let's go ahead and talk about this past week in K-State men's basketball. Admittingly, it was a better week last week compared to the past, say 4 or 5 weeks. The Cats did go 1-1 last week. We were recording our episode last week as K-State was playing Scott Drew's Baylor Bears. But Baylor game was actually kind of a wild game for the Cats, a 90-74 victory. That got Matthew Driscoll's first win as a head coach inside Bramlage Coliseum in, I believe, 5 tries. But this really was a great performance, I would say, from a dynamic duo of guards. Thinking about it, Nate Johnson, PJ Haggerty. Nate had 33 points and 9 assists, so one off of a double-double. And then PJ Haggerty, off of a 15 of 23 shooting performance, had 34 points. Offensively, K-State looked like, in some of their really good games this year when they look good on the offensive side, they shot 57% from the field, 47% from three. But the thing that really kept them in this game obviously, and kind of, completely dominating this game was on the defensive side, holding Baylor to 40% shooting and 13% from three. Although in the second half, Baylor did kind of cut it to 9 points with about 8 minutes to go. The Cats went on a little bit of a run, had a strong end to the second half. And admittingly, for you could probably say maybe like 30 to 32 minutes of this game, K-State looked pretty exciting. And who'd have thought maybe if they could have done this through the year. But kind of funny that it did happen against Baylor, thinking about historically, and this being, a game where Jerome Tang is no longer, the K-State men's basketball head coach. But looking at the Baylor game, what did you like about what you saw from this team after kind of all this turmoil that's been going on?
Obviously, they were, little healthier, it looked like. They looked like they were all the way there in terms of, McGriff kind of finally getting back into the rhythm of things. And then the key to everything is Nate Johnson right now. Nate Johnson literally is carrying this team. And some would say that he could have been doing this throughout the season. And maybe that's where people were getting, the messaging that this team is peaking at the right time, that they're playing better basketball than they had previously when they had lost, I don't even know how many straight. But Nate Johnson really is the only bright spot because PJ is doing what PJ's been doing all season. And if you get a Nate Johnson like this that is shooting out of his mind and is being efficient with the ball in terms of dealing out assists, low turnover numbers, and is being a pest on both ends for the duration of the game. Like he played almost every minute of that game. And an ungodly amount of steals, ran point guard very efficiently, and then just scored the ball. Like, you can't ask for a better performance than that. And that will propel you to wins versus bad teams and probably versus good teams. But you need a lot of help. And when you're that efficient dealing the ball out, good things are going to happen. So that Baylor game, Baylor's not very good. So that's the first thing that we need to mention. They're not very good, but the pieces for what Driscoll wanted to do, that was probably, it couldn't have been maybe, the fifth lowest 3-point takes that we had all season. We only took 14, 15,
something like that.
Insanely low number. And we hit 9. So,
Yeah.
It's just, we were just efficient with the thing, with the game. And that's not what we really thought we were going to get with Driscoll's offense, if that makes sense. Like, we thought we were going to be shooting threes every possession, going down and trying to get quick turnaround, quick possessions, and just chucking that baby up. But that's not what we got. And it was the best performance in the Big 12 that we've seen so far, which is strange. I don't know.
Strange. Yeah. You mentioned Nate Johnson, and I think I believe I've said this on kind of a previous show, but when he plays the point and PJ is the off guard, I think the offense does usually run better. Now, we didn't necessarily see that, in the Texas Tech game, albeit Texas Tech is a very good team in the Big 12, obviously. But in the Baylor game, you really saw the strength of having Nate Johnson kind of be your primary point guard guy, ball handler, as you said. And it really does make the offense, I think, run way more efficiently, just look better. Didn't necessarily have to settle for a lot of poor shots in that game. They did have that kind of stretch in the second half where, it kind of looks similar to some other games that we have played this year, where you do stop making things happen. But from that 8-minute mark on, they did a really good job of, number one, bottling up Baylor on the offensive end, but also making some pretty big shots. It was kind of incredible to see, with those two guys, kind of looking at it from a historical perspective, the last duo like that, I believe, to be able to score more than 30 points, Michael Beasley and Bill Walker, 2007. with a team that ended up going to the NCAA tournament that year. So we
I
won't be
mean,
doing
that won't be happening this season, but I mean, it's kind of that what could have been, you
Yep.
know. It's unfortunate because, mind you, if and a guy like Abdi Bashir was out for that game,
Mhm.
that's where his spacing makes it even better. So you don't have like maybe necessarily a Taj Manning out on the floor, but maybe the defense suffers. I don't know. I don't know if
Mhm.
there's a whole dynamic that you could have been with what could have been, but I don't know. I'm happy to see Nate Johnson because that was my guy going into the season. I thought he was going to be all worldly. I thought this is what we were going to get. Not necessarily 33 points, but a solid like 18 to close to 20 points a game, and good rebounding numbers, good assist numbers, and just a pest on defense. And it kind of was the performance of the year for him, but it you thought maybe this would propel this team into a game versus Texas Tech, which we're about to talk about. Uh, that
Mm.
is shorthanded, missing their best player, and hasn't been necessarily guard heavy all season. And we thought maybe potentially we had the better guard duo going into that game, and it just didn't matter. It just didn't matter. But you'll
No.
go through the numbers for us, brother.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah. So obviously Saturday, Texas Tech, this team had a really big loss. JT Toppin was that got hurt in the Arizona State game. He's out for the season, which, he's one of the best players in the country. And so for K-State going into Lubbock, you may think, after a Baylor win and Texas Tech may be without their best player, that it might have been a closer final score. But K-State lost by 28 points. So it was 100-72. Texas Tech beat K-State. It was a weird game because the first half, I thought this team was going to lose by 40. At one point, you're just, I think it was like 34-12 or 32-14, one of those. But K-State cut it to 10 midway through the second half. Texas Tech kind of went on a lull. K-State just started making some shots, but then just absolute, incredible second part of the second half. Just not very good offensively, giving up a lot of stuff on the defensive end to get that 28-point deficit by the end of it. It was a game where K-State just kind of struggled, all around. Obviously, on the defensive side, they were not very good, but didn't really make a ton of threes. They were 6 of 20 from the 3-point line. They did shoot 44%. That's not great, but it could
No.
be a lot worse.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen worse, but I don't know I don't know what much worse would have got us. The thing about the shooting was that there were a lot of set shots that could have been, juxtaposed to what we saw versus Baylor, where it was a smooth 20 shots here from the 3-point line, and it was, what did we have versus how many did we have versus Baylor? I think I just said the number. I'm not sure though.
14
But
or
we had
15.
we had 17 threes from in that Baylor game. So the numbers are similar,
Yeah.
but you're not cashing in on it. You're not
Mhm.
cashing in. We had 18 assists in that Baylor game to 8 in the Texas Tech. That just screams to me that we're not hitting the shots off of those first passes. Like there's not enough assists, not enough baskets being made. 44% when you're shooting 30 from the 3, that's bad. That's not good.
Mhm.
You're not very efficient. You're gonna I mean, if you're not crashing the board and getting a lot off the offensive rebounds, you're going to lose by a lot because the other team, they're rebounding. They got 40 rebounds to your 28. And that's just another sign of what this K-State team was constructed like, where you're not physical enough on the interior, Buka's not skilled enough to grab a rebound or stay on the floor long enough to do it, McGriff's never going to be that guy. He's playing center for us, and he's a stretch 4 at the most. He does not. I mean, he wants to score inside, but he's not battling for rebounds. It's that team. It's just not built right. And that Texas Tech. I mean, imagine if they had Toppin, who is going to crash boards, do all the dirty work, and be skilled. And I mean, what did McGriff foul out? McGriff fouling out. I mean, that was versus some versus lesser opponents than what you would have saw with JT Toppin. That Texas Tech team's still pretty good, but man, you thought you would have a fighter's chance with them missing their best player that game and for the season, which we'll talk about later in NCAA tournament hopes and all that stuff. But man, it was just a bad game all around. Not banging enough shots, and they pestered the ball, and their guards really showed up. Efficient numbers. I think their worst shooting guard was like 50 something percent. They got whatever they wanted and scored at will. So it was tough. It was a tough day. But I kind of expected it though. It. On the road, Tech's looking for
tough.
blood.
I mean, I think Buka played 4 minutes in this game. I honestly think that not having JT Toppin in the lineup kind of changed the complete dynamic of this Texas Tech team and how we would typically defend them. And you could see it. We kind of had to play small through this game. Andre Kostic, he played 18 minutes. CJ Jones played 23 minutes in this game. I won't say anything. But it was kind of a situation where I think this Texas Tech team without JT Toppin was a matchup problem. I mean, it really, really was. And if people haven't necessarily watched a lot of Texas Tech basketball, Christian Anderson is an exceptional point guard. He's a really, really good player. But Donovan Atwell, who, he got 26 points in this game. I mean, he was really, really good. I mean,
But he's their best 3-point shooter, and it showed. It showed. And
absolutely.
We didn't have anybody because Nate had to stay on Anderson because he's our best defender, and he had to stay on, and he was getting cooked. But that's the problem. Like it's just one guy would beat you, and then another guy would be right there, and they were just better on the glass as a team. That's also the problem. They had 40 rebounds. We had 28. McGriff did all right, 8, but he fouled out. He only played 23 minutes. That's not enough. That is not enough.
It was just that I think that team without JT Toppin is a matchup problem. And Toppin, you could then play a little bit of a bigger. You would probably anticipate playing Buka more in that game. 4 minutes for your backup center is not great. That's just not good. And that just shows, playing Taj Manning at the 5 and 4 guards, that was going to potentially be your best chance to be competitive in this game. If you started making some shots, didn't happen. We obviously saw the result there. So, that's not a great, 28-point loss is not great, albeit against Texas Tech. We'll see how they do as we get closer to the Big 12 tournament. Want to mention one game, tomorrow night we play at Colorado. On last week's show, we did kind of talk at the end of the episode if we thought K-State was going to win another game, and I did say yes, and I got that. But admittingly, kind of looking at the I guess next, how many games do we got left here? So
4? At
Colorado, TCU at home, West Virginia at home, and then at Kansas. This Colorado team is probably from a record perspective, worst record that we're going to be playing against in the next 4 games. Again, on the road, and probably going to be a pretty easy to get tickets if anybody's wanting to go to that game. But with Colorado tomorrow night, TCU on Saturday, give me what you think K-State's record this week is going to be.
I could see 1-1. I could see 1-1. I mean, it would be nice. 2-0 is not off the table. I think this Colorado game could, if they could get this one on the road, I would feel a lot better about that TCU game. It just depends on who shows up, what kind of team shows up, because the shooting on the road is dreadful. So going to this Colorado team who's not all that good on defense, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough, but I think a 1-1 performance is where we land at. What has their last few games been? They had a win versus Oklahoma State, big. Lost to BYU. They scored 44 points versus Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Holy cannoli. That is
beat
crazy.
Arizona State.
And lost to Baylor.
Man,
they're right.
Big 12 play.
That's kind of nuts.
They beat Arizona
I don't know.
State
I
twice. They had beat Utah, and they beat TCU and Oklahoma State.
Okay, I'm gonna give us a win versus Colorado, and give me 2-0. Give me 2-0. Feeling spicy. Give me 2-0.
Yeah.
Have we played this Colorado team already?
They've not. No, we've not played Colorado. I'm giving us the TCU because I think thinking about obviously should have beat them in Fort Worth. I don't know if this Colorado team is that good. I guess my thing is, can this team? They got to shoot pretty well on the road to win a game. So hopefully, if they can make some shots early on, get some good momentum. I don't know if I'm going to say 2-0. I'm going to say 1-1. This team doesn't deserve a 2-0 prediction.
It doesn't, but the problem with Colorado is they have matchup nightmares. Like, Dak is, I think that's how you say his name. Is it Doc or Dak?
Dak, I think, yeah.
I mean, I saw him earlier in the season. I can't remember who they were playing, but I mean, he's a freak. He's all of 7 foot, handles the ball. And I mean, it's going to be tough to deal with him. I don't know who we're putting on him, how we're going to deal with that. But I think this is probably going to be the PJ Haggerty game.
Mm-hmm.
I think him versus Isaiah Johnson, freshman versus senior or junior, whatever. The veteran versus the young buck. They have similar games, in my opinion. So I think PJ kind of shows up for this one. Give me PJ Haggerty with a 30 biscuit on the road. Give me PJ 30. And he misses less than 2 free throws.
Wow, that's biggest
crazy
thing. Jeez,
that's
Louise.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy talk. No way.
He'll miss his first one and he'll miss his last one.
Yeah,
those are the 2 he misses.
He'll miss the first. He gets to the line the first time. He misses. He's 0 for 2.
No shit. He calibrates and then he gets a little lax in.
Yeah, that's good.
I like that.
Yeah, I'll give you that one. All right. Well, let's just stay on the men's basketball topic and get into updates on the hot board. So obviously for the next handful of weeks, we're going to be hearing, what's going on with K-State basketball head coach recruiting. We talked a little bit last week about kind of the supposed maybe early candidates on the hot board. Jared Calhoun, Eric Olin, Alan Huss, talked a little bit about like Andy Kennedy and Casey Alexander, some of these names, but man, the past handful of days, we have a trio of Chris's that apparently have entered the hot board party. We'll start with number 1, and this one, who'd have thought there might be, a guy like this coming in, but Chris Beard is apparently one of those Chris's that's being talked about. For anybody who's not aware, Chris Beard, current head coach at Ole Miss, brought them to the Sweet 16 last year. Former head coach at University of Texas, Texas Tech. Some donors apparently want him. A couple other Chris's. Chris Holtman, the DePaul head coach and former head
Buckeye?
coach at Ohio State, and Butler, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Had some pretty good success at Butler and Ohio State with those teams in the NCAA tournament. Has DePaul this year, has improved DePaul this year compared to his first year of last year. And then Chris Mack, who was the Xavier head coach and head coach at Louisville, and is now at the College Charleston. 3 Chris's. I mean,
yeah. I mean, not the most exciting. When I first heard Chris Beard's name, we had mentioned him subtly in a previous episode. I would not recommend going to look for that comment that I made about him. But when I first heard it, I said, that would be an excitement level to the basketball program with a coach that is very visible, out in the spotlight, has a huge name, would bring a lot of interest. But then I thought about it, probably not for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Probably not for and coming off of Jerome Tang, who is a media darling, I guess you could say. That's probably not what we need. Probably not what we need for the program. He has a track record of being a good basketball coach, which I don't think anybody can deny. I don't know where Ole Miss is standing right now. I don't think it's too hot. But his tenures with Texas Tech, Texas, there were some bright spots in there that you could see yourself seeing in Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, it's just that's a lot. It's coming with a lot. I know it was a long time ago, but it's still there. That stink is still there, kind of. So I reversed my thinking on that, and I think it's a no for me. I think that's a no for me. Chris Holtman, on the other hand, not that good of a basketball coach. But he's kind of clean. He's kind of he's not the oldest fella. He's had some good recruiting pedigree at Ohio State. I mean, I've listened to that 97.1 radio all the time. The Fan, just listening to them talk about back in the day when they used to talk about Chris Holtman, he could recruit his butt off. Now, getting his team to believe and buy in and do all the things that they need to do wasn't always there for the Buckeyes. And I don't know what he needs to do and what he's done with DePaul. Like you said, he's improved off of last season, but DePaul was arguably one of the worst basketball programs, in America. They were so bad at 2 or 3 seasons ago. So maybe he's getting his chops together and he'll be a decent basketball coach, but going into the Big 12 is a totally different monster. This is a killer league out here. We played DePaul this season, didn't we?
No.
Or was that last? We've played DePaul recently. I feel like we have.
We played him the Michael Beasley's year.
And by recent, that is recent.
That is recent.
And then Chris Mack. I mean, is that worth even talking about? I don't want Chris Mack.
I don't know.
He is a beautiful bald, though, right? Beautiful bald.
If that is what we're looking
sexy
at,
bald.
Sexy bald. He would be at the top of the list. Let me start with Chris Beard. I do not believe you can hire a guy who was fired with cause at a previous institution when you are in a middle of a lawsuit about firing your coach for cause. I feel like that just does not play well on the outside in the media. I just don't think that is going to play off. His the personal situation that he had with the domestic violence. I know he was not found guilty with that, or the charges were dropped. For me, I don't like that situation. I do. It's hard because he obviously, if his name is getting floated out there, he wants out of Ole Miss, right? And let's just say, for example, let's talk about a job that might open in the Big 12, Arizona State, or Cincinnati. I don't know if actually Cincinnati is going to open anymore, but if Chris Beard came into the Big 12, would you be afraid of him at Arizona State building that program up? I mean, he's shown at Texas Tech the ability, like he got that program to 2 Elite Eights and a national championship game.
Yeah.
Ole Miss, a team that has had little historical significance in basketball, in his second year, he got into the Sweet 16. I would be if he goes to Arizona State, or I have a feeling he would do well, at another program. So if I think that, then I guess in my head, I'm like, okay, if he comes to K-State, is it just that it's the personal stuff? Like, it's the things that he had going on.
He's a ship jumper too, though. He is a ship jumper.
Yeah.
He moves around. So, I mean, are you really building for something? Or, I mean, what's the long-term plan? I mean, how much do you want of Chris Beard? Is this to get the program jump-started back up to again? Because he, like you said, he's shown the potential to do that with multiple programs and, with some good success. But is he a ship jumper? Does he want that next step? Because he was at where I think he wanted to be with UT, and then shit hit the fan, has to bounce, goes to Ole Miss, has success, and then you're hearing those rumors with the K-State thing. He wants out of there, maybe potentially to the next bigger thing, to take that next big step to go somewhere else. I don't know where after K-State is bigger than that, what his aspirations are, but you obviously saw what he was doing at Texas Tech in the Big 12. And I mind you that, I mean, the Big 12 started to grow more as a humongous basketball conference after Chris Beard had left, but he had Texas Tech doing their thing, like you said, with those 2 Elite Eights and a national championship. He had Texas Tech at the pinnacle of what Big 12 basketball was. So, and is. So that, I mean, that's another part of the Chris Beard saga that you would be looking at. And if Chris Beard is jumping onto the next program, obviously you've done well at Kansas State. But like you said, what is the plan? I mean, is there a bigger plan, a long-term plan with Chris Beard, or is it just to get the program back to going? Because we're coming off of 3 bad seasons, so something's got to change.
Yeah. It's an interesting kind of situation because, I mean, again, if his name's getting floated out there, there's obviously genuine interest. I just don't know how it would be taken if it actually came to fruition. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. It's an interesting one.
What's your thoughts on Holtman though? I mean, I think we both dismiss him.
It's unexciting.
Yeah.
But I think, I read, so if you look at his time at Butler and Ohio State, he was in the NCAA tournament every year for a 6 or 7 year span. And he was like a 6 or 7 seed on average. You would take that. Like, if you're 6 or 7 seed 7 years in a row, just,
Right.
like you really would want that. Because, yeah, 6 or 7 seed, you're most likely going to, make it to the second round. You upset, get to the Sweet 16 out of that. But that's a pretty good like success statistic to look at. Um, the thing at DePaul, I think there's going to be like an automatic, portion of the fan base that's like, we're looking at the head coach at DePaul, like, because what historically DePaul is from a basketball program perspective. But that is probably the toughest job in the Big East.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the biggest or one of the toughest Power 6 basketball jobs
Is that Chicago?
Yeah, it's in Chicago. And he has that team in his second year improved. I mean, it's an unexciting. It's not exciting. But you look at the potential coaching candidates, and outside of probably 2 or 3 that maybe you're in your top tier, it's a very unexciting bunch unless there's discussions under the rug about, some different coaches across the Power 5 that might have interest. So Holtman might end up being a really good one to come in with proven success in the past. It's just unexciting. I mean, that's
my thing is like, okay, yeah, you could look at this recent trend that he has with how bad it ended at Ohio State and where he's at with DePaul. But you got, like you said, you got to look at the stretches that were really, really positive. And he can recruit, man. I mean, a name familiar with people in the Missouri, Kansas region is EJ Liddell, and he took that guy right from under our noses. And I mean, that was a monster recruitment. He was awesome, and he was great with the Buckeyes. I mean, it's just it crashed and burned very similar to how Jerome Tang's was, where it was, you had the real consistent. Well, I guess Jerome Tang's wasn't very consistent, but you had the highs with the NCAA tournament appearances, obviously not going very deep as far as you'd want, and then it just stopped. It just like completely stopped. So that worries me, but I can envision him being here. I could honestly see that. And head coaching experience, something that we need. He knows how to run a program. It's just, can he win basketball games as a coach? And putting the staff together also would be kind of fun, because I think there would be names that are like that I'm familiar with that would get me involved, because these guys that, like you said, it's not the who's who of the coaching carousel that we're going to see involved with Kansas State, even though we're first to market. It's just like, who are these guys? What are we really getting? Because, I mean, it's either we're going with Calhoun, and, I mean, he's had some success at Utah State, but that's it. I mean, that's where he's made his hay, and you're putting all your chips on that guy.
Mhm.
I don't know. I think Chris Holtman is probably third. I still have the guy from New Mexico.
Okay.
And I'll stay with Calhoun, just because, I mean, everybody is so high on him. There has to be a reason for that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just a gopher. I'm going for it. I'll just go for whatever you guys say. But I like Holtman. I like Holtman a lot. It's just, can he win basketball games as a coach? Because we're coming off of Jerome Tang, where he didn't coach at all.
Yeah.
No offense to him, but like, he just wasn't a good in-game basketball coach, and he didn't have a plan. I think Holtman would have a plan, and he'll recruit his ass off. So I like that.
You got me more excited about it. We'll see. I feel like, every week we're going to be able to do this. It's going to be
that's that's a follow-up question I have for you. When do we need to have this wrapped up?
I mean, I don't think there's any way it gets wrapped up until
The end of March?
no, it would be earlier than that, I think.
You think so?
Well, I think it's just dependent on where teams land in the postseason space. So, for Utah State, they're probably going to the NCAA tournament. And so the third week I guess the second to third week of March, I think is where you're trying to wrap this up. Albeit, again, there could be conversations with coaches right now that are in the SEC or Big Ten, mid schools that may make the NCAA tournament that they may not know until the end of March. So, I mean, the quicker you wrap this up, the issue with that is, why is it so quick? Because ultimately it is going to get wrapped up when that coach's season is done. And if their season is wrapped up on the first, 4 day, so Tuesday, like, okay, that team made the NCAA tournament, but that's, I don't know. But
okay, so Chris Holtman's timeline for when he got fired at Ohio State. He was parted ways with Ohio State on February 14th. That's like a similar story, a similar timeline. And he was hired by DePaul on March 14th.
Okay.
So if I put that in my timeline, I could see that, and then you're off and running. Because but how is the windows work for basketball? For portaling.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going for a sitting head coach, you are at the mercy of the conference tournaments, and then whether that coach is coaching in a postseason tournament. Right. So I think with how that worked with Holtman, obviously was, he was fired, and then DePaul, once you're fired, he has the ability to talk to anybody, and got kind of zoomed in with DePaul. So I think, I mean, you say late March, so, that could be like the last week of March. I could easily see the third or fourth week of March. I know K-State wants to wrap it up, but I think, they also, I think, potentially want to see, a head coach go farther, if that's the case. So, yeah, it'll be interesting, but we'll be keeping this discussion going up pretty much weekly now until we do hear about who's going to be taking over the Cats here for next season. Now, before we get into the last part of our episode, let's go ahead and talk through our second sponsor and my boy, Paul Meisbach, who's leading up Heartland Beef Connection. We have been thrilled to have Heartland Beef Connection here as a sponsor for Cocaine Willie. Now, obviously, folks, we're not talking about grocery store beef. Heartland Beef Connection does connect Kansas and Midwest families directly with local ranchers. So no middlemen, no industrial processing, and no mass-produced beef. A lot of these ranchers located in Kansas. Plenty of them are K-Staters themselves. So we're really excited to be able to connect these ranchers to individuals and families who are wanting to buy a lot of beef. And we know a lot of people love different types of beef. So Paul has been a friend of the program, and he's been a friend of me and Bob's for a long time as members of the same fraternity. But he started Heartland Beef Connection to help support these ranchers and matching them directly with individuals who are looking to buy quarter, half, or whole beef shares. Here's the part people don't expect. Not only does this beef taste better, it's actually cheaper per pound than any grocery store beef that you would be finding out there when you do buy direct. Better quality, more transparency, and you're not paying for the middlemen. So if you care about supporting Kansas agriculture, keeping money local, and eating beef that actually tastes the way beef should, this is it. Because you are listening to Cocaine Willie, you can get $25 off the Heartland Beef Connection match fee when you mention the pod or use the code CW25 at checkout. So do make sure to check out Heartland Beef Connection at heartlandbeef.net. Real beef, real ranchers, and better beef for your money. For this week's question, Chef, tell me the best steak you've ever eaten.
Okay. I had I think it was a 10 or 8 ounce filet from Cameron Mitchell. I was very hesitant because it was literally encrusted with peppercorns. And I love pepper.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy crap. Like, it looks like it was rolled in gravel. That's how much peppercorns were on the outside of this. But I mean, when I tell you, you cut in that thing as the most tender filet that I've ever had in my life, with a little bit of I don't even know if it was like a pepper gravy, but it was like some kind of sauce, velvety smooth. And I cut into that thing, and those peppercorns actually just were mild. It wasn't a harsh, like, black pepper grinder to your face. It was a mild, like, spice. It was beautiful. I'm gonna look up because I'm sure it's still on the menu. I'm gonna look it up. It's a Cameron Mitchell, though. Fire. Cameron Mitchell is the man. I don't know. Do you have Cameron Mitchells out there?
I don't even know what that is.
Okay, so he's an Ohio guy. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Like, you're saying his name, like, should I know?
He's like a famous chef.
Famous chef.
Guy.
Okay.
Famous guy.
Okay. Well, I'll give a shout out to my buddy up in New York. He made one of the best steaks I've ever had in my entire life. And the cooking process, sous vide.
Oh,
a sous vide and a sear.
Oh,
it is.
I love it.
It was buttery, like so soft. I mean, incredible. Like I really think, you can get, like, you don't have to go to an expensive steakhouse to have steak. You just need a cast iron pan. And then if you have a sous vide, that's helpful. I mean, if not though, you cook it in the cast iron, baste it, butter,
herbs,
rosemary.
I want a hard sear on mine. I want a hard sear on mine.
Yeah.
Gotta have a hard sear. I need a crust.
Yeah.
It is essential. Yeah, you get that sous vide probably around 120, I'd say 129 degrees. 129. You get that 129 degree sous vide steak for 2 hours with some butter and the rosemary and thyme in the bag. Underrated.
Yeah.
A slice of onion in there as well.
Ooh.
I think that brings a lot of flavors to it. You get that,
right.
And you get that out of the sous vide, get it on some paper towels, dry it down, put it on a plate, and let that baby rest over there. Let it get familiar with the air. Let that baby sit over there for a while.
Familiar with the air.
Get it familiar with the air. You want that moisture to stay there, just right there. You want it to dry out on the outside, because then when you throw that baby in a ripping hot pan, searing it off, get that hard sear on there, and then you can turn your temperature down to probably like a 2 or 3. Get that butter in there and just start basting over the top with the garlic. With the garlic. Oh man,
wow.
And then you take it out of that ripping hot pan and you sit it on a wire rack and you let that baby get familiar with the air again. You want those juices to stay in there. You do not want to cut directly into that steak. Do not do that. That is a mistake by many, venturing chefs. Is to you're hungry as hell. You want to get right to that steak. Don't cut into that baby yet. Especially if you're talking with a steak probably about over 1.5 inches in thickness. The juices are in there, brother. You can't let those babies out. And then when you let that baby rest for 10 minutes.
Oh
Cut
my
into
God.
it. Now you're ready to devour. Man, that's a perfect medium rare steak with a hard sear and garlic flavor throughout with the juices preserved. God damn. That got me wanting steak.
Yeah. You can catch Chef on his alternate podcast, Everything About the Meat.
Oh my God.
Anyway,
The meat.
the QR code up in the top left, that is Heartland Beef Connection. Glad to have Paul and Heartland Beef as a sponsor. Let's go ahead for the last part of our show called Shootin' the Shit, which admittingly, as we are getting into the month of March, everyone's maybe favorite college playoff series known as the NCAA Tournament is upcoming in 3 weeks. And crazy enough, Big 12 looking really good. Potentially going to have 8 teams in the NCAA Tournament per Joe Lenardi's bracketology that did come out today. The 8 schools: Arizona, Houston, Iowa State, Texas Tech, Kansas, BYU, UCF, and TCU is in the last 4 teams in the tournament, which is kind of crazy considering what I've seen from TCU here recently. But with looking at this from the Big 12 perspective, since majority of our listeners are going to be Big 12 focused, out of the 8 teams, and I'm going to say don't count TCU in this, so you have 7 teams. What team do you think is going to get upset early in the NCAA tournament this year?
Okay, so this is going to sound like I'm completely hating for rivalry purposes only, but
Yeah.
Kansas, I could see them if – what is his name? Is it Peterson or Patterson?
Darren Peterson.
Darren Peterson is not locked in and is, preserving himself and is only playing 18 minutes a game. They could see themselves getting booted quick. I mean, they do have a very talented team, mind you. They are really, really good. They're not the best Kansas team that we've seen in a long time, but Peterson definitely adds something to that team because his talent is undeniable. It is very undeniable. And I would say 1A is Kansas, 1B is BYU. Because if DeBonce is in foul trouble, now he gives his all every time he steps on that court. And he's on a historic run right now with BYU. He's putting up some video game My Player 2K numbers right now. If he's in foul trouble or something, no knock on wood that something happens to him or whatever, BYU outside of him is really, really limited. So I could see that definitely being the 1A, 1B scenario for me.
Man, Kansas is obviously like an extremely interesting team because they could be completely shit, aka the Cincinnati game, and then 2 nights later dominate a Houston team that, I mean, Houston's been on a little bit of a I think they've lost, I want to say their last 3 games. They've lost their last 3 games, albeit it was against 2 teams in the top 10 and then Kansas, who was in the top 15. But the NCAA tournament has just been such like a tough, like for the past few years for KU. And I don't know, if you're going to get Peterson at his full. And Kansas will probably be like a 4 seed. And we've seen what happened in the past with that. So I was going to say Kansas, and I was also going to say BYU because Richie Saunders not being on, he's out for the rest of the season for BYU. That's a team that is very talented, but Richie Saunders was kind of one of the, I would say, the most underrated players in the Big 12 because he was very much being overshadowed by AJ DeBanza. So BYU will probably be like a 6 seed. And, that's kind of a classic, like, 6-11 matchup
or 6-11
6-11 matchup. So You'll trend for Kansas for your 1A. I will pick BYU as the team that I think is going to get upset early.
And where did they have Texas Tech penciled in at? What seed?
Uh,
Because I don't know
Texas
if
Tech.
that would even be an upset. Because with top
Yeah,
and I like how they brought that up versus in the Kansas State game. They were talking about like the you know the people that are putting the tournament together have the ability to project what they
yep.
see with Texas Tech and can really affect, even if they're winning games, what they look like without Toppin. So I mean that's probably my strong two, because but
They're projected.
they have a good strong guard, but if they're not a higher seed, I don't see them how it would even be an upset.
They're projected as a 4 seed
Oh,
as of right now, Texas Tech. So they are also kind of an interesting team. I think where we will be able to really judge is the Big 12 tournament and how that might go to really kind of see. But Tech is one of those teams that I think you know you lose the best player in the Big 12, and you would expect that they're going to kind of take a falling off, but they may not miss a beat and kind of figure it out, especially with Christian Anderson at the point. My next question. So thinking about those 8 teams, what is a team that will go on a run? And what I would say here is maybe don't pick like Arizona, who's going to be a 1 seed. But thinking about a team that you think may go on a run, I can start.
okay.
So I think looking at all of these teams, this is another one that I kind of hate to say, but I
Oh, I
think
know what
Iowa
you're about to
State.
say. Iowa
I
State,
think
yeah.
Iowa State is going to be watching Iowa State. First off, the game that they played last Monday was an exceptional game when they were playing Houston and Ames. Obviously, won that kind of really with last minute or so. But uh, I look at that team, and I think this team, as long as they have everybody healthy, I think is built to win games in the NCAA tournament. You have a guy in Momcilovic who is an incredible scorer, especially from three. Joshua Jefferson has been really, really good. Buchanan, and then obviously Lipsy at the point. If TJ Alzerberger is going to find, like, I feel like this is the year, almost kind of like, Purdue and like Matt Painter not being able to get his team to the Final Four, or, this and that. They've always been upset. I think this is the year that Iowa State really has to like make something happen, because Lipsy obviously graduates after this year. Momcilovic is probably going to the NBA. I think you really kind of have to make a run here to get to the Final Four, or at least to the Elite Eight. So I am going with Iowa State as that team.
Yeah, and I would go Iowa State as well. That's like where my head went directly to. I think because of their success in the regular season, they're going to have such a good seeding, and depending on what region they are, their fans are going to travel. That is going to be an absolute show when Iowa State is really, really moving in the NCAA tournament. And I don't know who's hosting this year, but they'll probably get some 2 games in the Midwest that are just absolutely packed full with Iowa State fans. But obviously, the team that I would also think that would go on a run, because this is just what they've proven that they do, is Houston. Houston is one of those teams that they've proven it. They've done it. Obviously, they've gone on a rough 3 games. 2 of them have been somewhat close. I think they got handled. Obviously, they got handled by Kansas. But they're going to finish up these last 3 games. They're going to dominate these last 3 games. And then going into the Big 12 tournament, they could just get hot. They could start shooting the lights out. It's just one of those teams that it's well-rounded, and it's brought together by arguably a top 3 coach in the Big 12, and probably a top 5 coach, or, maybe is he a top 10 coach in the country? Yeah, I would say he's a top 10 coach in the country.
Samson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he where do you have him in the Big 12? Is he 1? Is he 2? I think he's probably 2 or 3. I think Self's 1.
I think Self's 1, but I would probably put him at 2. Who
Yeah.
your other options are Tommy Lloyd.
Lloyd, that's where I was also go, but he hasn't really proven much recently.
Yeah. They got to the Elite 8 last year.
Did they? I don't remember.
Um,
They're a really good basketball team.
Yeah.
Even though
I
I
would
think
probably put
are they
Lloyd at
losing to
3.
Baylor right now?
Oh,
They
geez.
might be
Are they?
losing
I
to
don't know.
Baylor. That'd be funny. But yeah, give me Houston. I just you gotta you gotta be able to prove it, and they've proven it over the years that they know what to do in March and how they can go on runs. So I think it's always kind of set up for a team like Houston. It's just that's just in their DNA. So I'm gonna go Iowa State, and I'm gonna go Houston. So those are my two runners.
All right, perfect. And then my last question, and in the script I did put it what team makes it to the Final Four, but I actually want, what team do you think makes it to the national championship game?
Fudge. I would have to. I mean, it just depends on draws to me, man. It's crazy how
it's looking
how
at the
much
eye
that
test.
determines. Yeah, the eye test. I would say, depending on what Houston does, like I think they can go on runs in March, man. I think they're good. Arizona is a real heavy favorite. They're just so big. They're just so strong, and I thought they were an older team. They're not.
They're not. No.
They're somewhat young. I mean, it's
They're
NBA
not.
talent, so that probably won't be there very much longer. But man, they're so big. So give me Arizona as probably the team that's kind of going to be in the national championship. They'll probably get to the tournament. They'll probably have one close game, and then they're just going to smother other teams. Like they're going to smother them to death. They're going to be out west the entire time. And I'm going to look it up now. I'm just going to look up who's hosting the NCAA tournament this year, but I'm going to go Arizona.
Yeah, well, Arizona was going to be mine too, because I said at the beginning of basketball season that Arizona was going to win the national championship. So I'm going to be picking them. But I mean, the one thing that I will say about Arizona, because Koa Pete has not been playing for that team, but they are just really good across the board. And the incredible thing about it, and I just pulled up the roster because I just think about like roster construction and how for K-State they pulled this, they kind of went overseas, and recruited this year. Just get where these players from Arizona, Netherlands, England, Australia, France, Senegal, Germany, Lithuania, South Sudan.
It sounds like a guy that's coached at Gonzaga.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That it all like makes sense. It all 100% makes sense. But like he just has done such a great job of kind of trying to mold and kind of be like Mark Few, but do it at a little bit of a different environment. He is also a guy that has to make it to the Final Four this year. Like if you get upset in the Sweet 16 or I mean even the Elite 8, it's not going to be great because people are going to continuously talk about how Tommy Lloyd can't do anything in the NCAA tournament. So it almost might be a blessing to lose early in the Big 12 tournament this year. Like it might.
It might be. The thing about like he'll never have those teams that are upset. Like, well, this team in particular is not a team that's going to get upset early. Because those teams that get upset super early, like versus like a team like, I don't know, just throw a team out there, Princeton or like Belmont or something like that. Those teams that are well-oiled machines that just run their stuff and get you in situations where if they're not shooting good from three and the other team is, they're going to lose. This team's so big and athletic they're not like a Purdue where it's Zach Edey, who's a statue, and then a bunch of other non-super athletic guys. These guys are freaks from top to bottom, and they're just going to smother teams. I honestly think that. And it's kind of been written that it's going to be like this, but I think if they're shooting all right, they're just going to bludgeon people to death.
Yeah.
And the sites, by the way, are Buffalo, New York, Greenville, South Carolina, OKC, Portland, Oregon, Tampa, Florida, Philly, San Diego, and San Jose. So they're going to probably stay out in San Diego or San Jose.
San
or something
Diego.
Yeah, and then it's DC and Illinois for the regionals, which doesn't seem right because there should be two more, right?
Well, no, San Jose. They would be San Jose. San Jose is a regional site.
Is it?
So bracketology is putting them in San Diego and then San Jose for the regional.
Okay.
So
yeah. Okay. And then it's Indy for the Final Four.
Yeah.
Which I don't like, but that's fine.
Well,
Yeah, they're going to stay out west the entire time until they have to get to Indianapolis.
Yeah. They'll be again, I thought they're going to win. So
well, Kansas State in 2 seasons. Well, maybe next season. Maybe next season, Chris Holtman will have us rolling.
And that should do it.
This is a good pod. This was a good pod.
No, that's good. Yeah. Well, I know for me, this is my last pod for a couple weeks as I'm on vacation next week. But Bob and Chef will be leading everyone as we get closer to figuring out who our next head coach is. But yes, that's going to do it for us today. So once again, I just want to give some shout outs to our sponsors, Annie Mae's Parlor and Heartland Beef Connection. Visit anniemays.com for a full list of their upcoming events. And if you're stop buying Annie Mae's this weekend, be sure to tell them Cocaine Willie sent you. Also, make sure to visit heartlandbeef.net and use promo code CW25 for $25 off your match fee at Heartland Beef Connection. We do also have our merch store up at cocainewillie.com where you can buy our Wildcat Country Let's Ride merch. So check that out. And additionally, we are the K-State representative on the College Huddle, which is the largest community of fan-driven content in the nation. Check them out at thecollegehuddle.com and follow them on social media at College Huddle. Last but not least, you can follow our show at Cocaine Willie on social media. If you are checking out our YouTube page, please make sure to give it a sub, especially as we are posting some old games for K-State basketball. Pretty exciting. And make sure to follow us individually. I am at Matt Marchesini. Chef is at Chef Andre Napier. And Bob, who's not on today, but you will see him moving forward, of course, is at Bob Trollsby. Chef.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug, baby.
We are all coke and no joke. Wildcat Country. Let's
freaking right, dude.
go.
Let's go.